Welcome back to my channel, DIA with Raul. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Kohler Coralais kitchen faucet, model number 15173-F-CP. So we're going to replace this faucet that is constantly leaking. The first thing you're going to want to do is grab some type of bucket. Next, you're going to want to isolate the shutoffs. These are pull to shut off. And then you're going to double check. You're going to open up the faucet to make sure the water is turned off. Now I close the faucet so that it creates negative pressure as I remove the supply lines. Once the supply lines are removed, I aim them towards the bucket. Then open up the faucet again to release that negative pressure. And it drains into the bucket. This rigid, easy change faucet tool makes this job so much easier, but you don't necessarily need it. But if you do, this is what you're going to use. Now you just slip the hose right in between, lift up until you get a grip, and then just turn counterclockwise in order to loosen. Now that it's off, you're going to disconnect a hose if you have a sprayer. Now with everything disconnected, you just pull everything out, removing the old faucet. Now, with my 5-in-1 tool, I scrape off all the old plumber's putty and wipe it down clean. Now grab some new plumber's putty. I'm going to knead it so it gets soft and pliable. I'm going to gently roll it out, one long, even bead. This is going to go all the way around the holes. Now, one thing I do like about this base plate is it has a putty groove. So this helps to keep water out from those holes. And also it's stamped with the front side so you know which way faces forward. Now, right out of the box, you got to make sure that the plate is actually facing the right way. So there's a larger hole that goes on the sprayer cradle side. So always double check. Here are the steps you're going to need to take in order to screw it down. Here's a bracket. Mind you, this one is upside down. You're actually going to flip it the other way so it cradles around the hoses. Then the washer, and then the nut. Now to make life easier, I used a deep socket in order to get the nut all the way up so it compresses against the countertop. So remember, that bracket was on wrong. Now you're going to use an O-ring for the sprayer cradle. Don't forget that. And now the difficult part. First you're going to want to do is unscrew the sprayer from the base. You're going to pop up the hose from the sprayer base, and it's going to reveal a little metal ring. That ring you're going to need to get off. I found the simplest way is to use a small flathead screwdriver. Just going to want to get underneath it and pry it out. This may take some time. Just be patient with it. And now you can take off the sprayer base from the hose. Boop. What this allows you to do is feed the hose up through the sprayer cradle, and then you're going to reinstall the base and the sprayer. Don't forget the nut. The fins are going to be pointed down so that way you have the grip in order to screw it in. So just remember that. Now I always install the hose first, because when you're working underneath the sink, you're not going to have the space in order to tighten it. So this I do beforehand. Now it's time to install the faucet. First thing you're going to do is feed the hoses. Now the sprayer hose is going to be difficult, and I'll show you how to relax that hose later. But first, you just got to battle it and get it through. Now you just line it up with the plumber's putty, press firmly, and that'll help it stay. At this point, I install the sprayer cradle. At this point, I use a socket bit in order to use my drill. So that deep socket drill makes life easier. Now you're going to install the bracket. Remember, the bracket goes around the hoses. Unlike earlier, my demonstration, I put the washer and the nut and hand threaded or finger threaded just enough so I could get the drill started. At that point, I just drill and tighten. So I set the clutch really low on the drill in order to go back and hand tighten. These things don't need to be over tightened, so just be careful when tightening. Unfortunately, out of frame, this is where I'm installing the sprayer cradle nut, and that gets tightened down, hand tighten. Now to feed the sprayer hose through the sprayer cradle. Now to install the supply lines. These hoses are labeled hot and cold. My left side is usually the hot side, and then tighten. Not overly tightened since these are plastic. Remember this piece? Yes, this is going to be the difficult part. What you're going to do is the base of the sprayer, you're going to slip over the hose until it pops out. Then you're going to line up that middle clip and grab some needle nose pliers. Now line it up with the groove and carefully press it into place with your thumb over it. Now this is going to happen a few times, just popping out. So that's why I keep my thumb over it. But for demonstrations, I wanted to keep it visual for you guys. Now you just twist the sprayer back on until it's fully seated. Now you're going to scrape off all the plumber's putty. I use a 5-in-1 tool, and it creates a nice even line. And here's how I relax that hose. You're going to turn on the water, check for leaks. Everything's good. Turn the hot water fully on and let the water run. So we're checking for leaks. If it's going to leak, it's going to leak in the first couple minutes. And that you definitely want to check that hose. If everything's good, now that the water's hot, I just run it through the sprayer as I stretch the sprayer hose. What this does is warms up the hose, makes it more pliable. Checking the cold side, make sure it's cold. And everything works properly. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up.